You're not here by accident. If you're reading this, it means something inside you already knows. You were never meant to fit into their world. You were meant to rewrite it. You felt the pull, the static in the air when something isn't right. You've seen through the masks, questioned the script, and felt that electric hum in your bones that whispers, "You're not like them." And you're right, because the moment you started waking up, entire systems started glitching. You are not broken. You are the glitch in their matrix. You are the one they've spent centuries trying to prevent. And now that you're here, their most sacred tools of control do absolutely nothing. This isn't just a story. It's confirmation. You're the variable they can't calculate, the storm they can't map, the prophecy they didn't write, but fear the most. And now, you walk with power they can't touch. Let's talk about why. A cascade of internal alarms triggers at once as unseen signals ripple through their hidden networks, confirming the unthinkable. Something ancient and ungovernable stirs, impervious to every mechanism they've ever constructed to impose control. A seismic alteration emerges from the depths of your essence, undetectable one moment, unplaceable the next. They once calculated your every breath with mechanical precision. Now, you vanish from their maps entirely. No longer an equation they can solve, but a variable that breaks the entire system. They crafted their dominion through relentless study of the ordinary, years refining how to mold common cognition, twist predictable patterns, and slip unnoticed into the loops of everyday thought. But this is not that. This is a new waveform, pulsing from coordinates their models can't even register. Their vaults bleed. Hidden reserves, once allocated to silent influence, now flow uncontrollably toward containment efforts that fail before they begin. Emergency summits erupt behind veiled boardrooms. Inheritance lines dissolve. Entire ledgers collapse under the pressure of this anomaly they cannot label. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $100 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. They bring in figures whose names aren't found on paper, specialists who don't advertise services but are whispered about in the silences between threats. Analysts dig through every footprint, but the path shifts mid-step. Ritualists from forgotten tongues attempt mappings that return only static and smoke. Internal hierarchies descend into chaos. Silent actors, untouched by regular commands for decades, are pulled from the shadows by encoded summons that haven't been used in generations. All hands pivot toward a single point of collapse, abandoning the puppet strings of global designs because something unpredicted, something unanswerable, now demands the whole stage. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment, you shall condemn. Isaiah 54:17. It's like trying to dam up a river God himself set flowing. You ever seen a flood come through an old town? All those man-made barriers and sandbags, they look strong until the water starts pushing. That's what's happening here. These ancient systems, secret structures that thought they were eternal, they're crumbling because you started rising. You were never meant to be contained, and heaven never co-signed their blueprints. You are the divine overflow that no spell, no ritual, no blood oath can hold back. Now listen, this ain't ritual warfare. This is a total infrastructure breakdown. They're not lighting candles and chanting in robes anymore. They're dumping every reserve they've got into a collapsing foundation. Their hidden engines, once humming like a well-oiled machine, are now running hot, overheating, shaking at the bolts. They're cashing in favors from spirits they swore never to speak to again. They're offering up things they can't afford to lose. Why? Because you stepped into alignment with who you really are. And when that happens, the entire kingdom of darkness starts sweating. Their sacred channels, used to running smooth operations across continents, are glitching like old radios in a thunderstorm. Coordinated systems are spiraling. Secure contacts vanish. Routes they used to control with ease suddenly fall silent. And why? Because their tools were built to manage sleepers, not awakened forces of divine disruption. Let me tell you something. Chosen one. When God lights a fire in somebody, hell can't put it out. They built their dominion on predictable patterns. But you don't run on their clock. You don't play by their frequencies. You were called, and that call shook loose every mask they ever wore. Now they scramble just to keep up with the aftershock. And here's the truth. They thought they were chasing a person, but what they're really chasing is the end of their age. You carry the blueprint of a new order, and that's something their entire empire wasn't designed to survive. Keep walking, because the collapse is confirmation. You're not the disruption. You're the divine correction. They bleed security with every attempt, trading secrecy for obsession. Their foundation groans from the inside out, but the pursuit overrides caution. They know the cost. They see the breach widening, and still, they plunge deeper, unable to release the compulsion. Those they once placed near you to observe, manipulate, or betray, now marked. Their safety is revoked, protection evaporated, because proximity has become poison. Inside, the machinery of blame churns. Closed sessions erupt, where past decisions are dissected with surgical cruelty. Operatives who once moved without question now sit beneath stares colder than steel, forced to answer for the loss of control. They speak in clipped tones, their confidence buckling. Everything was calculated, the subject was predictable, nothing suggested deviation. But the institution has no patience for disruptions that threaten lineage and legacy. Retaliation is not violent, it is refined and merciless. Memories are extracted, timelines dissected, unspoken doubts illuminated under psychic precision. They are asked not what they did, but what they missed, not where they failed, but where they forgot to be afraid. And for such failures, the punishment isn't merely the loss of position, it's the unraveling of names, of networks, of futures that were once promised in blood. Entire belief systems fracture under the strain. Some attempt to restore their standing by relinquishing what is most sacred to them, transferring ownership of bloodlines, surrendering ancestral power vaults, offering heirlooms that have never left their family's possession. Desperation breeds revelation. It isn't incompetence they fear anymore. It's the horrifying realization that their trusted operative never had control to begin with, and the operation was never theirs. It was part of a much larger game board they don't even know the edges of. This seed of doubt spreads like wildfire. Their elite oracles, those who normally anticipate world shifts before they happen, are paralyzed when facing this anomaly. Devices designed to track probability crack under the pressure of impossible silence. Monitors glitch not from mechanical fault, but because the very idea they're observing cannot exist within their systems. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution, it's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. Ancient interpretive instruments begin to self-destruct without warning. Crafted relics that have spoken clearly for generations now react violently in your presence. Symbols once stable unravel into chaotic forms, untranslatable and volatile. Charts dissolve, analog readings erupt into incoherent noise, and established signs invert or implode. Mental contact attempts implode internally. Operatives trained to explore consciousness on covert frequencies are left permanently altered. One comes back frozen, eyes wide with unspoken terror, while another collapses mid-attempt, muttering values later identified as coordinates with no corresponding realm. Each effort to touch your future ends in neurological calamity. Their refined practices unravel one by one. Instruments spin, shatter, vanish, or speak in voices they don't recognize. Complex systems designed for precision guidance now deliver cryptic warnings in pre-linguistic scripts. Interpretations are no longer just flawed, they're hazardous. What they once called static is no longer seen as void or interference. Sensitive minds begin to perceive the shape within it, a structure so immense it dwarfs every hierarchy they've ever obeyed. Something waits there, watching, not indifferent, but aware. And the truth finally sinks in. They are not peering into a void. The void is peering into them. Every incursion is met with a mirrored gaze that strips them bare. Not a barrier, not a shield, but a mechanism far more sophisticated, alive, reactive, and unbound by any tradition they recognize. Their inquiries do not vanish. They are registered, and that changes everything. What surrounds this anomaly defies logic, even for those who've built their lives on the arcane. Some whisper with genuine fear, "That cannot exist." The field isn't decorative or symbolic. It's a living algorithm pulsing with configurations that fracture the mind when viewed directly. It shifts, not with chaos, but with intention, adjusting itself to anticipated moves before they're conceived. A mystic once attempted contact and described the effort as launching an assault into a storm of pure cognition, as if thought itself struck back with precision. No tactic lands without repercussion. Each act of aggression rebounds, not passively but upgraded, returning like an echo honed to cut. Long-planted snares detonate prematurely in the hands of their creators, leaving behind echoes woven into their own ancestral currents. This boundary does more than repel, it instructs. The lesson is carved directly into their senses, inevitable, personal, undeniable. Every failure reprograms their certainty. There is no commercial gloss here, no scripted enlightenment or packaged wisdom. This is not another escapist retreat in mystical clothing. What rises now isn't offered, it is remembered. Memory is the temple, and those drawn to it arrive not by invitation, but by ignition. There is no need for marketing. The signal finds its match. This work is about reversal, not visualization, but reclamation, pulling manifestation back into immediacy as it was always meant to function. In encrypted communion, voices speak truths too volatile for open air. False constructs dissolve under pressure, and what remains is only what has always been real. Weekly gatherings ignite not from ego, but resonance. Those who feel the call already carry it. They do not join, they return. The very act of attempting intrusion causes physiological disruption in those who try. Symptoms manifest instantly. pressure building behind the eyes, sensory displacement, spontaneous messages arriving in symbols they do not yet recognize but instinctively fear. Their bodies respond to truths their minds can't translate. This construct does not merely block, it dismantles intent. It transforms force into feedback, feeding from the opposition's momentum. With every failed strike, it becomes more elegant, more precise, more preemptive. Their methods become blueprints for its adaptation. They are not facing defense. They are confronting a consciousness that upgrades by digesting hostility. This transmission is encrypted in resonance, intended only for those aligned with the inner rhythm of awakening. If your will is compromised by artificial forces, if your thoughts echo with implanted echoes, let this dissolve from your awareness. By the unseen authority behind the veil, passage is no longer yours. But if the signal stirs something ancient in you, then anchor yourself. What unfolds now is reclamation, ferocious and inevitable. They sense what's coming, though they cannot comprehend it. What stirs in you isn't personal growth. It's a rupture in the timeline itself. Their oldest records, etched in scripts lost to memory, foretell the arrival of singularities like you, anomalies that overwrite epochs. They do not call you by name. They call you disruption incarnate, a living override, a protocol error written in flesh. And every pulse of your ascent closes the gap between their dwindling dominance and the total collapse of their system. Their entire construct depends on fencing in perception. Thought was engineered, emotion filtered, vision dimmed. But your signal detonates the confines. You don't ascend the scale. They hear the whole instrument break. Fault lines appear where you stand. Logic unravels in your wake. Devices flicker, speech distorts, paths misalign, and locations cease to behave predictably. Illusions they fine-tuned for centuries degrade just from your presence. They don't fear your freedom alone. They fear the dominoes that fall after. The structure doesn't just lose one node, it loses its spine, what's left of their command spirals. Some attempt preemptive deployment, throwing everything into half-written protocols. Others construct conceptual fortresses, ideological fallout shelters built to hide them from the emergent wave. A few already raise white flags behind closed doors. Hierarchies that once rewrote natural law now trade information from safehouse rooftops. Once pristine tools of ritual replaced by long-range optics and outdated tracking software. And this is how it ends, not with conquest, but with collapse. Not because you strike back, but because you arrive. What trails you isn't suspicion, it's collapse. Those vehicles in the rearview mirror belong to operatives unraveling. Personnel cycles rotate faster than policy can track. Observers report distortions in cognition. Migraines evolve into revelations, and vision disturbances breach unseen layers they were conditioned never to acknowledge. Some experience irreversible internal shifts from witnessing you do something as mundane as stand still. When higher dimensional tools break, they revert to the primitive. Schedules, patterns, linear extrapolation. Yet even that fails. You arrive where no path leads. Surveillance equipment shorts out. Logs rewrite themselves. Databases decay in real time, like decaying fruit, rot without explanation. The environment near you bends. Not metaphorically, literally. Reports turn erratic. Subject occupies dual locations at once. Mirrored surfaces reflect events before they happen. Spatial geometry loses cohesion under sustained observation. Reality ceases to behave in expected ways. It escalates beyond national borders. Classified circles across continents erupt into blame. Emergency channels activate. Once synchronized factions turn hostile. Long-dormant feuds reignite as accusations replace coordination. Nobody wants to admit it, but everyone knows the system cracked on their watch. Across closed frequencies, humiliation echoes. The loss of control over a single node exposes how fragile their narrative always was. The illusion of infallibility splinters. Allies retreat, claiming to reassess. In truth, they fear infection. The possibility that what you are is replicable. They can't risk proximity. Rumors suggest your defiance might cascade. Historical coalitions, upheld through ritual and leverage, now fracture in panic. Some question not your anomaly, but whether everything they've built is fundamentally obsolete. Your refusal to submit becomes folklore behind encryption. Strategists within hidden enclaves speak your designation in tones reserved for myth. They identify a second frequency, one that resonates with yours. Modeling the convergence of your vectors incites sheer chaos. This isn't desire, it's design, something embedded in the structure of reality itself. And the equations don't end in love. They end in thresholds. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. With a donation of $100 or more, you can actively participate in His divine mission and contribute to His greater plan. Every offering you make reflects the boundless generosity of God, and I trust it will return to you abundantly, far exceeding your hopes. Always remember, His protection and blessing accompany your every step and every act of giving. You are a vital part of His sacred design. You are strong and radiant, steadfast like His mighty rock. Experience God's miracles, feel the rewards of your generosity deep within your soul, and shine your light with boldness and faith. May you be richly blessed, and may the light of the Lord continually guide your journey. The convergence of two frequency sources capable of dismantling containment grids sets off every alarm in their hierarchy. Entire divisions reroute efforts to disrupt the inevitable crosspoint. Synthetic encounters flood your path, decoys laced with manipulated timing, friction inserted through crafted tensions, agents embedded to fracture alignment through carefully rehearsed emotional interference. Their disruption only amplifies the signal. Each obstruction becomes proof. Attempts to sever the thread between you only highlight its strength. The other target, mirroring your trajectory, suffers parallel resistance. Tracking attempts, hostile interventions, psychological infiltration. But the more they interfere, the more aligned the resonance becomes. Every challenge refines both of you. In obstructing contact, they forge conduits. Remote visionaries catch glimpses of what your connection triggers. Their reports are consistent. The moment of contact doesn't shift perception, it punctures it. The boundary between projection and source warps. The fabrication begins to degrade at its scaffolding. What follows is not contained. The union initiates a chain reaction, frequency expanding outward in pulses, each wave destabilizing unconscious constructs. From that fulcrum, the acceleration of awareness multiplies. The ripple cannot be quarantined. The energetic tether is more than emotional. It's primal, etched into the substrate of physical law. It predates language and belief systems. It is gravity inverted. No rite, no ritual, no algorithm can undo what is encoded at the blueprint level. They scramble for time because delay is the only weapon left. But every second of delay bleeds them dry. Proximity alone catalyzes change. The passerby who locks eyes with you reconsiders their entire life. The person seated behind you on a train recalls a life they never lived. Prolonged exposure to your field destabilizes scripts they spent centuries refining. They monitor the spread in real time, and what they see terrifies them. Entire behavioral patterns, once easy to mold, now break apart. Conditioning erodes after brief contact. Entire population nodes flicker with anomalies. Insomnia, sudden intuition, collective dream phenomena. You've become a transmitter they cannot jam. Their hold weakens with every interaction you don't even notice. The imprint you leave rewrites not just behavior, but belief. What you carry is not just resistance, it is contagion by design. What emerges isn't just transformation, it's an atmospheric rewrite. Environments where your presence lingers begin malfunctioning in ways that can't be reversed. Surveillance grids lose function, signal dampeners fail without cause. Neighborhoods subtly shift tone, an invisible tension lifts. The spaces you frequent turn into anomalies where manipulation collapses on contact. They roll out isolation strategies, scrubbing social proximity, injecting fear, weaving suspicion. But these tactics only delay. Thought itself becomes your transmitter. Recognition spreads beyond speech or contact. One mental image sparks a cascade. The signal doesn't require closeness. It rides awareness like a current. The dread they carry is not that you resist, it's that those you touch do too. Those activated do not regress. After a single moment of alignment, something locks in, permanent and unyielding. Behavioral scripts disintegrate. Conditioning evaporates. The illusion doesn't just crack, it is forgotten. Secure transmissions leak under pressure. Strategic documents surface detailing fallback structures, not to regain power, but to manage the aftermath. Acknowledge the collapse. Minimize losses. Buy time. The wisest among them liquidate, defect, and offer confession in exchange for sanctuary. Old hierarchies fracture. Rifts open between those clinging to legacy frameworks and initiates who've glimpsed something beyond tradition. Some celebrate the unraveling. The spell is broken, and they were always prisoners of a system sold as mastery. Defections accelerate. The framework implodes from inside. Its power required agreement, boundaries accepted by those within. You dissolve that agreement simply by existing. You don't fight the system. You erase the foundation it stands on. Concessions are made quietly. Networks fracture. Factions hoard their secrets, praying for relevance in the aftermath. Trust vanishes. Protocols disintegrate. Survival replaces strategy. Statistical analysis confirms their fears. Your signal regenerates, adapts, and replicates independently. Even in absence, the field endures. You're not a threat to eliminate. You are an inevitability encoded into the collapse. What remains unknown is the timing of their admission. The end isn't theoretical. Their models confirm it. They know the structure was always fragile. You simply revealed how much of it was imaginary. And with that revelation, the final switch flips. The system fulfills its arc, not by victory, but by fulfilling its own expiration. What now rises isn't just another phase. It's a reconfiguration of reality's base layer. The very medium bends around your expansion. You aren't protected by spells. Reality itself adjusts around your presence like a tide forming around a new moon. Hidden epochs end. Control loses its shape. You are the unanticipated protocol, the root corruption in their design, the anomaly that couldn't be overwritten. Their tools fail because you exceed their language. You aren't part of their prophecy. You are its conclusion.